Well, going on with verbs, this is all the average student of foreign language ever needs to know about verbs. And I'm not now talking about there are various kinds of verbs, and you can group them various ways. But now, I would just go to the first tab in and say that verbs inflect. I want to talk a little bit about that. Verbs inflect in English for three reasons. And those three reasons are number, person, and tense. Now I didn't stop to think, but I'm pretty sure that in other languages, in the Romance languages, verbs inflect for other reasons. Yes, now I'm quite sure that they do. In Latin, I think they inflect because of voice and probably mood as well. But I'll have more to say about that later. But in any case, in English, they will inflect. They will change their endings because of number, because of person, and because of tense. Well, QV 8 point whatever, that's the linguistics section. We're in 9 point something now. Oh, and I want to remember to go back to that. So let's briefly go over to the linguistics section, and I don't know what page it is now. But remember, in linguistics, I'm showing you things that are true of not just one language, not just English, but many languages. And person, there are persons. It looks funny to see that plural. In English, you would say people if it's more than one person. But I'm using this as a linguistic term. In most language that you'll run into, there are three persons. There's the first person, the second person, and the third person. First, second, and third. And what I do with the students is I say, now you take your hand and point to yourself and say first person. And usually they'll obediently do that. And I'll say, now point to me and look me in the eye and say second person. And then look at me but point over at your neighbor and there is the third person or your neighbors. And to give examples, I'm using pronouns. An example of the first person is I am speaking. That's not the only one. If I were here if there were two people with me, if you added to this number, you would say we are teaching. So that's not the only pronoun, but that is the first person. I may have others with me. The second person, an example is you. Now in English, that's I think, well no, that's not your only choice, but plural does not apply in English, nor does formality. When I get into foreign languages, I'll tell you about that. In English, you could be talking to the Queen of England and say you, or to some little kid and say you. Not in other languages. And another thing, in English, if you were speaking to a group, you would still say you. I'm uncomfortable with that, and this isn't. This may be the first time I'll tell you that, but in my dialect here in Dutch Corner, if I am speaking to more than one person, I don't want to say you, I want to say yuns. But that's regarded as substandard English, and there's such a prejudice against that. But, well, I'm into it now, so I'll just tell you the rest of it. I think that the dialect has solved a problem here. And that it's a problem in standard English. I'll probably come back to this later on, but anyway, you, or yuns, or y'all, or you, well, they get around it paraphrastically in standard English by adding other words to make it clear. All right, there is a second person pronoun. The third person plural pronoun, I'm looking at you. Over there is he, could be she, could be it, if it were plural. See, gender appears in the third person pronouns in English. It doesn't in you. I could speak to you a bunch of, or you a woman, it's you a man, it's you. I, if I'm a man or I'm a woman, it's still I. Gender is not there. But interestingly, when you get to the third person, gender appears in the pronouns, he, she, or it. If number appears, well then it's they, and gender disappears. I'll probably come back to this when I talk about pronouns. All right, another reason that verbs will inflect is tenses. And now notice I'm not even defining these. These are hard to define. It's like time. Tenses are like time. It's one of the reasons that in the definition of or the test for a verb, I said, does it work in today I blank, yesterday I blank, I have blank. That forces a word to go through time. And if it works, especially if it changes, well then that's strong evidence it's a verb here. Present, past, future, I suppose I should box these. Those are obvious, I guess. I think they're obvious. What comes as a bit of a surprise, I think, to most students of language is to realize that there could be some other tense. How could there be other tenses besides the present, the past, and the future? What else is there? Well, as far as the language is concerned, in English there are 6 tenses. And I'll show you them in the very next video. I'll show you how they're there. Now, in other languages there are more. It's a mystery. There's a lot about language which is close to magical. And I don't know if I'll be able to get that across to you or not. I'm so hoping that I can. It's almost like magic. Let me go back to Levi. Levi is, this is in the chronological survey, maybe that's where I should have put it. Since I'm into it now, I'll tell you anyway. Levi was one of the 10 sons of Jacob, and it's one of the names that becomes quite a common name. I thought of it because last night I was singing in a community chorus, singing Handel's Messiah, and in the chorus, we shall purify the sons of Levi. Well, they became the Levites, the priestly class, I believe. Remember, I'm no biblical scholar. The other thing, this applies here, German. I keep talking about German. I really should probably say Old High German or Germanic, because English didn't come from German. I'm wrong when I say that. I'm being careless there. German and English both came from an older language, which might be called Old High German. But the reason I do that is because modern German, for an English speaker, is like a gateway into that other side of the English language. You don't really have much of an opportunity to study Gothic or Old Norse, but you can study German. And when you study German, you realize that you've encountered a cousin to your own language, and there must be a grandparents back there, and there are. So I'll probably continue to say this comes from German, compare it to German, but I thought I should maybe correct that. All right, I think I've had 2 more videos, a total of 3 videos today, so see you soon.